Subscribe for weekly certification practice videos, exam prep guides, and new releases. Visit cloudcertificationstore.com for weekly releases and complete practice ebooks. You're watching episode 8 of 15 in our AWS Certified AI Practitioner, AIF-C01, practice playlist. We'll continue the series with questions 71 through 80. If you missed an earlier episode, you can find the complete playlist on this channel. Question 71. A team choosing a Bedrock FM asks, how much text can we fit into one prompt? Which concept answers this? Option A, temperature. Option B, context window. Option C, batch size. Option D, model size. The correct answer is B, context window. Explanation. The context window token limit caps the total tokens for system plus user plus tool plus assistant text. Exceeding it leads to truncation or errors, regardless of temperature or model parameters. Larger windows allow longer documents or multi-turn histories. It directly governs prompt capacity. Why not option A? Temperature controls randomness, not maximum input length. Lowering temperature won't increase the allowable tokens. It affects style, not capacity. Thus, irrelevant. Why not option C? Batch size, a throughput setting for parallel requests, not per prompt token capacity. It matters for performance, not prompt length. Mixing concerns will cause confusion. Hence, not correct. Why not option D? Model size parameter count may correlate with capabilities but doesn't uniquely define token limits. Many similarly sized models have different context windows by design. It's not the direct answer to capacity. Therefore, incorrect. Question 72. A company's support chatbot must adhere to brand tone without human intervention. What should they do? Option A. Set a low max tokens limit. Option B. Use batch inferencing for detailed responses. Option C. Experiment and refine the prompt until responses meet tone. Option D. Increase the temperature. The correct answer is C. Experiment and refine the prompt until responses meet tone. Explanation. Tone is best steered via explicit style guides in the prompt voice, do/don't lists examples. Iteration tightens instructions and reduces ambiguity. You can add few-shot examples that model ideal responses. This is the fastest, cheapest path to brand-safe outputs. Why not option A? Low max tokens truncates length but doesn't enforce voice or phrasing. You might get short yet off-brand answers. It treats a style problem as a length problem. Hence, not effective. Why not option B? Batch inferencing improves throughput, not stylistic control. Batch mode doesn't change how the model chooses words. Operational tactic, not a quality lever. Therefore, irrelevant to tone. Why not option D? Higher temperature increases creativity and variability, often drifting from strict tone. For brand consistency, lower or moderate temperatures are safer. Raising it exacerbates the problem. Thus, counterproductive. Question 73. Use Bedrock to classify text passages as positive or negative sentiment. What prompt strategy works best? Option A. Provide examples of passages labeled positive/negative, then the new passage. Option B. Provide a detailed explanation of sentiment analysis and LLMs. Option C. Provide the new passage alone with no context. Option D. Provide the new passage plus examples of unrelated tasks, summarization, CA. The correct answer is A. Provide examples of passages labeled positive/negative, then the new passage. Explanation. Few-shot prompting shows the desired label format and decision boundary. It improves reliability vs zero-shot, especially on edge cases or domain slang. You can standardize the output schema, e.g., label, positive. This aligns directly with in-context supervised learning. Why not option B? Method explanation telling the model how sentiment works doesn't anchor it to your labeling scheme. Without labeled examples, outputs may be inconsistent. It's mere instruction, not task demonstration. Therefore weaker. Why not option C? Passage alone zero-shot can work but is less predictable across domains. It lacks calibration to your format and definitions. Accuracy typically improves with examples, hence suboptimal. Why not option D? Unrelated examples mixing tasks introduces distractors that harm accuracy. The model may infer the wrong objective. Keep in context examples task-aligned. Thus, D is counterproductive. Question 74. A security company wants to identify unauthorized attempts to access Amazon Bedrock so they can refine IAM. Which service should they use? Option A, AWS Audit Manager. Option B, AWS Cloud Trail. Option C, Amazon Fraud Detector. Option D, AWS Trusted Advisor. The correct answer is B, AWS Cloud Trail. Explanation. Cloud Trail logs Bedrock API calls, who, what, when, from where, across accounts and regions. You can filter for denied or anomalous attempts and feed alerts. These records form the basis for tightening least privilege IAM. It's the canonical service for API-level audit trails. Why not option A? Audit Manager orchestrates evidence collection and control mapping but doesn't generate the logs. It relies on sources like Cloud Trail to provide raw events. Alone, it cannot detect unauthorized calls. Thus, not sufficient. Why not option C? Fraud Detector scores transactional fraud patterns, not AWS API access attempts. It won't observe Bedrock API invocations in your account, misaligned to infrastructure auditing. Therefore, wrong tool. Why not option D? Trusted Advisor provides best practice checks, cost, security at an account level. It doesn't enumerate per call access attempts, not granular enough for this requirement. Hence, incorrect. Question 75. A company built an object detection model and needs serverless hosting for real-time predictions. What should they use? Option A, Amazon SageMaker Serverless Inference. Option B, Amazon CloudFront. Option C, Amazon API Gateway. Option D, AWS Batch. The correct answer is A, Amazon SageMaker Serverless Inference. Explanation. Serverless inference auto-scales to 0 and up based on traffic, reducing idle cost. You deploy a model artifact, and SageMaker handles the runtime and scaling. It's ideal for bursty or variable workloads without provisioning instances. This directly fulfills no infrastructure to manage. Why not option B? CloudFront a CDN for static content. It cannot execute model inference. It can cache results, but you need a back-end model server. On its own, it doesn't host ML models. Thus, not applicable. Why not option C? API Gateway fronts HTTP APIs but still requires a compute backend, lambda/EKS/EC2/SageMaker. It doesn't serve models natively. Without a model runtime, it's insufficient. Therefore, incorrect alone. Why not option D? AWS Batch suited to batch/offline jobs, not low-latency online inference. Object detection for apps needs real-time responses. Batch introduces queuing delay and overhead. Hence, not appropriate. If you're finding these questions and explanations helpful, Subscribe for new certification practice videos and guides every week. Visit cloudcertificationstore.com for weekly releases and complete practice ebooks. Question 76. An AI company relies on ISVs for periodic compliance reports and wants email notifications when reports are available. What should they use? Option A, AWS Audit Manager. Option B, AWS Artifact. Option C, AWS Trusted Advisor. Option D, AWS Data Exchange. The correct answer is B, AWS Artifact. Explanation: Artifact provides on-demand access to AWS compliance reports and can notify subscribers. It centralizes SOC/PCI/ISO reports relevant to audits. Teams can download the latest versions without ticketing. This matches the need for report availability notifications. Why not option A? Audit Manager helps collect evidence for your audits but doesn't host AWS compliance reports. It complements Artifact but doesn't replace it. Using it won't notify you of new third-party reports. Thus, not correct. Why not option C? Trusted Advisor offers best practice checks, not compliance document delivery. It cannot notify you about external audit reports. It addresses posture, not artifacts. Therefore, misaligned. Why not option D? Data Exchange Marketplace for third-party data, not compliance reports from AWS. While some datasets could be compliance-related, Artifact is the dedicated channel. Data Exchange adds unnecessary complexity. Hence, not the best option. Question 77. A company is building a conversational agent and needs to prevent prompt engineering attacks from manipulating the LLM. What should they do? Option A. Create a prompt template that teaches the LLM to detect attack patterns. Option B. Increase the temperature on invocation requests. Option C. Avoid using LLMs not listed in Amazon SageMaker. Option D. Decrease the number of input tokens. The correct answer is A. Create a prompt template that teaches the LLM to detect attack patterns. Explanation: Guardrail prompts instruct the model to refuse jailbreaks, ignore conflicting user instructions, and follow system rules. They can include examples of injection attempts and correct refusals. Coupled with content filters and tool use whitelists, this improves resilience. It's a practical first-line defense. Why not option B? Higher temperature increases randomness, which can weaken adherence to rules. It may produce more risky outputs, not fewer. Temperature is a style knob, not a security control. Therefore, counterproductive. Why not option C? SageMaker listing marketplace curation doesn't guarantee attack resistance. Security depends on prompt design, guardrails, and runtime controls. Model choice helps, but listing alone isn't a defense. Hence, insufficient. Why not option D? Fewer tokens, shorter prompts may remove context needed for safe behavior. Token count doesn't block injection vectors by itself. You need explicit defenses and filters. Thus, not a solution. Question 78. A company classifies human genes into 20 categories and needs the model to reveal how internal logic affects outputs. Which algorithm? Option A, decision trees. Option B, linear regression. Option C, logistic regression. Option D, neural networks. The correct answer is A, decision trees. Explanation: trees are inherently interpretable. Each split is a human-readable rule on a feature. They show the path from features to class decisions, aiding scientific auditability. Feature importance and path analysis are straightforward. This meets the need to document inner mechanisms. Why not option B? Linear regression targets continuous outputs, not multi-class labels, also less expressive for complex boundaries. While coefficients are interpretable, the task is categorical. Using it would misspecify the problem. Thus, not appropriate. Why not option C? Logistic regression supports classification, but multi-class requires softmax/logit structure. Interpretability is at coefficient level, not hierarchical rules. It's harder to trace conditional logic for interactions. Trees offer clearer decision pathways, therefore less suitable. Why not option D? Neural networks powerful but opaque. Internal weights don't translate to simple explanations. Post hoc methods, SHAP/LIME, add complexity and uncertainty. They don't satisfy document how inner mechanism affects output as directly as trees. Hence, not ideal. Question 79. Using the generative AI security scoping matrix, which solution scope gives the most ownership of security responsibilities? Option A. Using a third-party enterprise app with embedded generative AI. Option B. Building an app using an existing third-party FM. Option C. Fine-tuning an existing third-party FM with company data. Option D. Building and training a generative AI model from scratch with own data. The correct answer is D. Building and training a generative AI model from scratch with own data. Explanation. Owning data pipelines, training infrastructure, and model artifacts maximizes control and responsibility. You must handle secure data handling, model governance, deployment, and monitoring. This grants flexibility but demands mature security practices. It's the highest ownership quadrant. Why not option A? Third-party app. The vendor controls most layers. You have limited visibility and levers. Responsibility is minimized to configuration and usage policies. It's the lowest ownership scope. Thus, not correct. Why not option B? Existing third-party FM. You control the application and integration, but base model security is vendor-managed. Less ownership than building your own model stack. It's a middle tier, not the maximum. Hence, incorrect. Why not option C? Fine-tuning third-party FM adds responsibility for datasets and tuned checkpoints, but core training stack remains external. More ownership than B, still less than D. Not the highest level, therefore not the answer. Question 80. An AI practitioner has a database of animal photos and wants to automatically identify and categorize the animals without manual effort. What technique? Option A. Object detection. Option B. Anomaly detection. Option C. Named entity recognition. Option D. In-painting. The correct answer is A. Object detection. Explanation. Object detection localizes animals in images and assigns class labels, e.g. dog, fox. It supports multi-object scenes with bounding boxes or masks, instance/semantic. Modern detectors, e.g. DITR/YOLO, perform well at scale. It directly automates categorization from photos. Why not option B? Anomaly detection flags outliers, not canonical class labels. It won't tell you the species or count objects. It's the wrong task framing. Hence, not applicable. Why not option C? NER text analytics doesn't apply to pixels. There are no tokens or syntactic entities in images. Completely different modality. Therefore, incorrect. Why not option D? In-painting fills/edits missing regions in images. It's an image editing technique. It doesn't classify or detect objects. Misaligned with the goal. Thus, wrong choice. That wraps up this episode. Follow the channel for more certification practice videos and share this one with someone who could use the extra exam preparation. The next episode continues the question set.